So today is Friday, 27th of September 2024. It's just around 5 minutes after 4. It's a kind of an overcast Friday afternoon here in Queens. And I just want to bring this short video. So I saw the Vice President Jagdeo. He met with government officers, and he warned those officers about taking bribes from contractors who put in the biddings for contracts. And I must say that it is a fact that some of these contractors, they put in bids on multiple contracts. And the Vice President warned them against trying to take bribes, but I think that's like throwing water and ducks back. I've been working with the public service for years, and no matter what, there always be bribes in the public service that can be wished away, especially in third world countries, and it's from top to bottom. The other thing that was trending even up to, I was seeing some comments up this afternoon about Mr. Tom, the administrator for the Burroughs School of Arts, where he initially attended his resignation. Apparently, he was probably going home, trying to get his car, and there was someone who was parked in the facility. He apparently told the person that this parking lot was for staff and students, and it was a to and froing, and the person apparently uttered a racial slur. Sometime after, Mr. Tom was summoned to the Minister Charles Ramson office, and again there was a to and froing, and he felt slighted, and Mr. Tom decided to offer his not offer, but actually resign. It's obvious that person had contacts or has contacts with the minister, and that person was able to phone the minister and probably give his or her version of what transpired in the parking lot. So the Vice President, I don't know if it's probably within 48 or within 72 hours, made contact with Tom, asked him to change his position, convinced him not to resign. A lot of you are saying out there, oh, Mr. Tom should have not gone back there, but Mr. Tom has a lot of students that he's teaching under his wings, depending on him. Mr. Tom is very qualified in what he's doing. And I would want to believe the main reason that man went back there is not just because of the VP Jagdeo's call, but he was thinking at the back of his mind the welfare of his students. And I know some people would probably be upset with me for saying this, but I feel, it's my feeling that the Vice President did the right thing. He had the power to do it, he did the right thing, and I must compliment the Vice President for doing that. Just because we can call them out for wrongdoing, we can call them out for when they're doing something that we know is right. And it's a pity that when there are other situations like this, you don't find, but don't even speak about government ministers. It's a pity that other situations where people may experience what Mr. Tom experienced doesn't come out into the public, where a high-ranking official like the Vice President can come out and nip it in the bud. Remember, elections is just a year and a couple months. So the Vice President in his press conference was saying that the government will not tolerate that kind of stuff, and etc., etc. But as I said, elections is next year. It's just about a year or so. So this is the time people who have grievances come out and speak your grievances and see if you can get redress. Now, before I give you a short video of the Vice President was asked by Dennis Chabral if he spoke to the minister. He said yes. He spoke to Minister Ramson. who agreed that the situation was handled wrongfully. The vice president told Ramson, look, this person is not a government official. This situation should have been handled by a PS and not a minister. Again, Ramson agreed with the vice president. So the rest is history. You're going to hear in this video clip the General Chabral asking the president questions about Mr. Tom as well as the Minister Ramson. I just wanted quickly to address the situation with the mayor because I heard a caller speaking to Ghanaians Critic yesterday morning, and some people are not giving right information. Yes, Mayor Eric Adams has been indicted, and some of these charges that are laid on him is even before he became a mayor. This is the latest I have here. New York, NBC News 4. New York City Mayor Eric Adams pleaded not guilty Friday to federal bribery charges, formally rejecting allegations that he accepted overseas travel, campaign cash, and other perks from foreign interests. We're speaking about Turkish interests, of course. Adams' lawyer told a judge that they would move next week to dismiss the case, which has embroiled the biggest United States city after months of investigations, searches, and subpoenas. The first-term Democrat maintained he did nothing wrong and has vowed to stay in office, rebuffing growing calls for him to quit. The only person that can revoke his mayorship is the governor, Kathy Hochul, and apparently she's adopting a wait-and-see situation. Adams, a former police captain, entered a plea in a packed Manhattan courtroom that just a short walk away from City Hall. His appearance before U.S. Magistrate John Catherine Parker came a day after prosecutors revealed an indictment accusing him of taking $100,000 in flights and stays in opulent hotel suites from people tied to Turkey and fueling his run for mayor with illegal donations that helped him qualify for more than $10 million in public campaign funds. Adams told the court, "I'm not guilty, Your Honor." Adams was released. Let me state again. Adams was released on condition that he not contact any witnesses or people described in the indictment. Prosecutors say they would provide his lawyer with a list of names of witnesses. He's not allowed to speak to those witnesses. He's only allowed to speak with his family members and, of course, staff. So Adams, who's 64, is due back in court on Wednesday. We shall see how that case will be going. Just before I came on here 5 minutes ago, I saw one of an assistant for Adams was stopped at the JFK airport and her phone was confiscated. So what you're seeing is that a lot of them, their phones, the inner circle, just like what they did to May Thomas at JFK, the FBI took confiscated phones and of course they checked the phone records, that kind of stuff, and I guess they found certain information. They seem like what happened with Ghanaians May Thomas. So let's see how this case is going to be going. So now I'm about to play the clip of Vice President Bart Jagger, just a short clip addressing those two matters of corruption and Mr. Tom.
Mr. Jagger, Danish Chabral, Damara Waves. Sir, could you say what exactly is the status of the negotiations with the companies that expressed an interest in the offshore blocks? I gathered that there are some negotiations going along with timelines. And secondly, even today, you have dealt extensively with the issue of corruption and procurement. You also had a meeting recently with the public officers. And prior to that, you had also dealt with the issue. On Tuesday, the Attorney General was, on a majority of his program, 90–70% dealt with the issue. What is the PPP seeing in terms of any surveys or reviews that corruption can indeed be a deciding factor for the next elections? And thirdly, could you say what influenced your decision to get involved in the matter concerning Mr. Tom?
Okay, let me start with the issue of corruption. So first of all, we need to ensure that the government's position is in the public domain. and that the public officers, those responsible for administering almost 100% of our budget, 97% of the budget, they were in that room, that they are aware as to how we see the issue of public procurement proceeding. And that's why we made it clear about the fealty to the procurement laws. We made it clear that we will not countenance departure from the act or the regulations or bidding documents, and that even if they have to adjust bidding documents provided for by law, they have to seek prior approval. We made it clear because there have been claims about sole sourcing and shoddy evaluation and all of these issues. They've been in the public domain, our position on this matter. I think it's known now in the country what our positions are on issues surrounding public procurement. A government should do this because somehow in a vacuum it makes it seem as though the opposition has a motive to make it seem as though we're tolerant of these practices. And that's why I spoke thus. Now, I recognize that part of the opposition does not have a great track record. And it has a mobilizing tool that it used historically to its advantage, but in the new circumstances is giving it diminishing returns. That is the racism. So they can't turn to it with the same sort of potency as in the past. So the one thing they have to do is to go back to something that worked for them well in the 2015 period. That is to make everything seem corrupt. For them, everyone is corrupt, and all 100% of government projects are corruptly done. So we have to point out the differences and what steps we took to address corruption. I think it was unnecessary. This gentleman served the country well and continues to serve the country at a very high standard there in the Borough School of Art. And when we saw the information, I saw the information that he had resigned, and the reason for which he resigned, I thought it warranted my intervention. And I called him and said, we'd like you to withdraw your resignation, that you're held in high esteem by the government of Ghana. And I spoke for the government of Ghana.
Why didn't you perhaps ask Mr. Ramson to perhaps inform Mr. Tom that he regretted that he did not deal with the matter of the racial slur that appeared to be the central issue?
You see, I do not want to get into, first of all, let me make it clear. This was not a government official who made this racial slur. I spoke with the minister and I said to him, if a member of the public complains about an issue, then these matters should be dealt with at the permanent secretary level. And I said to him it was badly handled. And he accepted it. It was badly handled. So, as far as I'm concerned, that's the end of the matter. We will not tolerate racism in the public sector or anywhere else. And I believe that people need to use the police and the ERC for these matters more. That if anyone were to do something of this nature, you should go to the police or report it. That only in that kind of environment would people stop this nonsense. And it goes against everything we're trying to promote as a country and as a party. And so that is all I want to say on the matter, because we're happy that the gentleman reconsidered his resignation and he is back at work serving his country.
Lastly, Mr. Jai.
So I listened to the press conference of the opposition leader, Aubrey Norton, and this is my take on some of the points he was making in terms of if his government gets into power, if his party gets into government, what they would do. The first 90 days in office, an advisory team of professionals to oversee all aspects of oil and gas. 2, review the existing draft of the Petroleum Commission legislation. 3, eradicate corruption between government officials and contractors. For example, the use of a 24/7 hotline where people can report corruption. 4, reinstate full liability coverage on the parent company liability to cover any oil spill by Exxon. 5, inculcate the safety and environmental protection culture. The safety of the environment is paramount. 5, a complete assessment of oil and gas annual income. 7, ensure the economic sustainability in Guyana of oil and gas during and after the oil and gas era. 8, conduct a national skills audit. 9, a directory of oil and gas professionals living in the diaspora. 10, complete a top-to-bottom review of the 2016 PSA agreement, including ring fencing. 11, conduct a feasibility study to see whether it is viable to set up a national oil refinery. 12, a complete cradle-to-grave management plan that was started by the coalition to manage the millions of hazardous and non-hazardous waste generated by the oil and gas industry. 13, conduct reviews of Starbuck blocks and also PSA agreements. 14, review the 1996 Environmental Protection Agency Act to update it to suit the present-day era of oil and gas in Guyana. 15, full transparency for all information related to contracts, agreements, production, data, etc., to be made public to the Guyanese people. 16, feasibility study to be done for the production of gas for the Guyanese market and its economic viability options. 17, conduct a review of the National Resource Fund and restructure it where necessary. 18, local content to be updated. For example, policies to be introduced to utilize more local businesses and services. 19, oil and gas sector to be managed in the best interest of the Guyanese people within the rule of law. And lastly, 20, utilization of the resources of the oil and gas sector to craft a foreign policy which will facilitate the integration of the sector into a strong national economy that can help protect the sovereignty and the territorial integrity of Guyana. I will now play a short clip of opposition leader Aubrey Norton.
I have 2 questions. The first one is, I noticed some of the things that Mr. Norton said somewhat contradicted the actions of what took place under the acting AFP government when they were in government. Such as you mentioned the revealing of contract and information, making it public, but we had that when AFP was in government, we had to fight to get the PSA revealed. There was a lot of criticism and pressing for the party to reveal that contract. So, and then there was secrecy of the $80 million signing bonus. How does Mr. Norton plan to now reassure persons going ahead, given that some of this that he has mentioned contradicts some of what was done under the acting party previously? My next question is, a lot of these plans are very broad-based. They don't have specifics. And a few weeks ago, I was asking Mr. Norton a question about when he had mentioned about the teacher salaries, where he had mentioned that he would give 35%. And he said something that really stuck with me, that when you are in the opposition, it's easy to say something, and then when you get in, the reality is harder to come to grips with, to accomplish some of the things you would have set out, because the reality may not be aligned with what you planned. To what extent can Mr. Norton assure that these things being said now, that when the party gets in, that they will have the ability to still implement them and stick to them, even when they come up against realizing that the landscape here may not, I don't know to what extent you guys have assessed these specific statute, the policies that you put forth here. And I'm sorry to be a little bit long-winded, but to what extent can persons be reassured that this can actually go forward, given that sometimes even when parties get in, the reality is different from what the party may have expected when they were on the outside looking in?
Let me start with your last comment. I think you're not being contextual. When I was speaking, I was talking on an issue in which I said I didn't want to pronounce, because when you get there, we didn't have the information at our disposal. And therefore, it wasn't wise to pronounce, because you might get there and find out that there is a different situation. That still holds. Now, the contradiction. It is a fact that the first time anyone saw the contract was while the APNU, AFC, was in government and put it in the public domain. So I don't know what contradiction exists when in fact the PPP had it for years. It was never made public, and it was first made public under the APNU. Additionally, we ensured that the opposition was engaged to have data, etc., which this government is not prepared to do. So as it relates to the sign-in bonus, as far as I know, the sign-in bonus is not what is claimed by the PPP and government. It was taken to ensure that we can pursue the matter of our territorial integrity at the level of the International Court of Justice. And when that matter came, the money was there. The PPP's attempt to suggest that something illegal is a reflection of their culture. They believe everything that happens is underpinned by illegality. If there was illegality, why when they came to power they didn't take action? And may I ask this question, is it not true that the money placed there obtained interest that has been spent by the PPP? So I would say to you, one, the sign-in bonus was taken and it went to what it was intended for. That in itself should reassure people that we are people to our word. Like I said, there is no contradictions. You said there are no details. And my understanding of policies is that there are broad guidelines for action. After you would have developed your policies, your programs, and your projects, you then go to the policy and develop specific programs that you will implement to achieve your objective. So one does not expect in a policy document, a plan, details. You are providing general policies that the people who you govern will understand the direction you're carrying the country or the industry. And so I do not believe that there is need for even the suggestion that there'd be details when we state at the top policies, strategies, and principles. Now, as it relates to the comment on teacher salary, I think in that presentation, we did more than once. In one press conference, I showed where you can take the money from. I pointed out that we can cut waste, we can cut corruption. Teachers can be assured of that because the money is there to do it. And we will not waste money in the way the People's Progressive Party is wasting money. And the money that is going to be saved from corruption and wastage by itself by themselves can pay them. But additionally, outside of that, there are resources in the national treasury that can pay the teachers.